In this session, we address being Māori and acknowledge the diversity of Māori realities. Some of the terminology has been taken from the study of sociology. It reminds us that in education, we need to remember that learners never fall neatly into tightly defined groups, and we should be aware of making assumptions, stereotypes, and generalizations as we get to know our learners.
Māori worldviews can differ significantly and they can be really diverse. So when you have Māori students coming into your classroom or the tertiary sector or the part of a tertiary institute that you work for, you can't categorise them all in one box called Māori. Because it's diverse, we use a look at scale or chart to map the diversity of our students. And so from one end, when you're working with these scales, you need a starting point. And that starting point from a cultural perspective is always a traditional worldview. And all of the varying states of that worldview. The other end of the scale is what I like to call, from sociology, a postmodern worldview. But I guess, you know, most people can relate to that as just being modern or being, modern. I'm still going to use postmodern though. So, you have your Māori learner come into your course and your training, and you say, well, this is a Māori person. How do you determine what they know about being Māori? And so when you use a traditional worldview, there are some very clear, I guess, characteristics of being Māori. So most people who sit over here at the very far end have a knowledge of, it's characterised by having knowledge of te reo, so they know te reo, the language. So they know their language, they know how to use it, they know the meaning and the many meanings, the diverse meanings of the language. And then they also know customary practice. Then finally, this person, or this tauira or Māori learner, is also characterised by what they know about affiliation. And that is their affiliation to iwi, or their people, their affiliation to hapu, or the smaller group or the sub-tribe hapu, and then also their affiliation to their whānau. At the opposing end of the Likert scale, the postmodern worldview, which we see a lot of, but we can't, I guess, assume that all Māoris sit here. And this is characterised by the fact that they don't know. The extreme example of the postmodern worldview is that they don't know te reo. They don't know the language. The other characteristic is that they do not know customary practice. And then finally, they have no knowledge of their affiliation. So you've got two extremes with a little bit of an idea of what this person comes with knowledge of, and this person coming with perhaps no knowledge of those three areas. What does this lead to? So this part of knowing the learner is about being Māori. Okay, you have a whole lot of students who rock on up to your organisation who say they are Māori. They can sit anywhere from a postmodern worldview to a traditional worldview, and those two worlds look different. Here, Māori who sit at the end scale or anywhere from this point onward can do one of three things. They know symbols. Your whakapapa. Who am I? Where do I come from? Yeah? Your pēpeha. Brief introduction. Okay? And you're able to say that within a mihi process or a greetings process, a whakatau process, which means to get together and, have a bit of a discussion about who we are. Okay? Why is that? So we can make links to one another in the room. And out of this comes a statement like this, law of psychology, which states, I am who I am as I hear myself say it. I am who I am as I hear myself say it. Ko taranaki te maunga, ko waiwhetu te awa, ko te ateawa te iwi. I am who I am as I hear myself say it. At the opposing end of the Likert scale, we have Māori students who have an identity where they have no reo, they have no knowledge of customary practice, and they have no affiliation to their marae, their iwi or their people, their tribe, their hapu, their sub-tribe. And so what do? This is what this leads to. They generally adopt an identity. And you often see that, I guess you see it more blatantly in youth, when you're working with youth, and that could be some common identities that are adopted by Māori youth or youth in general, but Māori youth are hip hop, okay? You might get some gang affiliations, you might get some, some other indigenous or other ethnic paradigms, yeah? And then what ultimately happens is this. They're still saying the same thing, I am who I am as I hear myself say it, but they've adopted a different type of identity, which isn't intrinsically and authentically their own. Eh? Because there's one thing that they can't change, and that is the fact that they are Māori. And their idea of being Māori is defined in a different way.
1. As educators, are there assumptions and generalizations we make about our Māori learners? 2. How could you use this continuum to inform your teaching practice?